Hello and welcome to Bedtime Story with Miss Anna. Are you ready to go to sleep? Kiss your mommy, kiss your daddy. It's time for story time. Tonight we have an amazing story from Little People Big Dreams. Hans Christian Andersen. Little Hans was born in a small town in the Kingdom of Denmark. His family was very poor and could barely afford a roof over their heads. But they had one precious jewel that they kept carefully in the cupboard: a book. Flying carpets, Arabian princesses, genies coming out of lamps. Every night, Hans would listen to his father's readings, and once he fell asleep, all he dreamed of was being the hero of these wonderful fairy tales. He was eager to learn how to read and went to school for some time. But when his father passed away, Hans had to quit and take a job as a weaver's apprentice. It was not the exciting life he had imagined. Still, one of his favorite hobbies was getting lost in the streets, looking for puppeteers. Watching them was his greatest joy. He would memorize each word and gesture and repeat it later for his only audience, his mom. Willing to make a living as an artist, Hans jumped on a carriage to Copenhagen, the big city, where he joined the Royal Danish Theatre. Hans tried everything: acting, singing, dancing, but all he got was a role as a troll. Lacking his tiny room, waiting for someone to offer him another role, Hans spent his free time writing. One day he showed one of his stories to the theater director. It was full of misspelling, but he found it just delightful. Hans didn't earn any money from that first story, but something better: a chance to go back to school and learn to write Danish properly. He was the oldest student in his class, but he knew it's never too late if you really want to learn. After graduating, Hans felt confident enough to write whatever came into his mind, from a sad poem about a candle that no one loved to the fantastic travelers of a man who even met talking cats. He was making a living as an author when he met a charming young woman named Ryberg. Hans fell deeply in love and was about to tell her when he got some terrible news. Ryber was getting married to another man. Instead of hiding his feelings, Hans decided to put them down on a paper, and he wrote some of the most beautiful fairy tales. There were stories of mermaids falling in love with princesses and ducklings dreaming of becoming swans. His tales became so popular that every night kids all over Europe read them. But they were not just the children's favorites, grown-ups loved them too, and they all kept Hans' books like treasures, just like he used to do. The stories live forever, not only in books but in plays, ballets, and movies. But Hans' highest honor was that every 2nd of April, the day of his birthday, kids all over the world now celebrate Children's Books Day. By never hiding his feelings and letting his imagination fly, little Hans got what he had longed for: being loved, not just by one single person, but by the entire generations of children who know there is a swan inside each of us. Thank you. I would like to read another story for you before you go to sleep. Little People, Big Dreams, Andy Warhol. Little Andy was the tiniest and palest child of Warhols, a humble couple from Slovakia who lived in Pittsburgh. He spent every minute of his day drawing, but he was too shy to share his work with others, even his family. Every Sunday morning, his mother would take him to church. Then back home, he played baseball with his brothers. Andy always carried his sketchbook with him, and not 5 minutes could pass before he was drawing again. Age 8, his legs started shaking like a marionette, and Andy had to lay in bed for months. He had a great time looking through the pages of magazines, cutting up pictures of Hollywood stars, trying to smile back at the faces in his collage. Andy wished he could be as charming, rich, and famous as they were. He thought his shyness would make it hard, but he was determined to make up for it with talent. At the art club he attended, Andy felt like an invisible man. Still, when it was time to work, he made himself notice. By the time the rest of the students had finished just one picture, he had put together a whole pile. Andy won a prize at a college exhibition for a drawing he made while helping his brother deliver groceries. It was the first time a newspaper had written an article about him. It felt good, and Andy wanted more. He took a train to New York, where he got a chance to publish his first illustration for a glamorous magazine. But they accidentally dropped the A of his last name, and that's how Andy Warhol became Andy Warhol. Andy became known for drawing charming shoes, colorful makeup, and glamorous sunglasses for the best magazines in town. But as an artist, he liked to look at ordinary things, especially the tomato soup he had for lunch every day. Instead of creating just one painting like most artists did, Andy decided to make 32 pictures of 32 soup cans. Each of them was a different flavor, but they all looked so much alike it was hard to tell them apart. His first exhibition looked much like a grocery store than an art gallery. Viewers were shocked by all the canvases placed in a line like products on shelf. They wondered if something so surprisingly everyday could be called art. Of course, it could. It was pop art, the art for all. And soon Andy was its kind. Bottles, bills, famous faces. He produced hundreds of copies of the same pictures and made each one unique with his interesting perspective and bright colors. He opened a space called the Factory where the coolest musicians, actors, and models loved to hang out. But for Andy, the hip crowd were his assistants. After all, he liked to work even when he was not working. And by letting his art speak for him, Andy, the quiet little genius, made himself heard all around the globe. And he showed us that even an ordinary can of tomato soup can make the whole world go pop. I hope that you enjoyed the bedtime story for today and that you learned something new. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share my videos. Good night, good night, good night.